In this video I will show you the manufacturing process of the 3D logotype, so let's start. First I started by 3D printing the signs and letters. I was using black anthracite TPU filament. I was still figuring out the right settings for this filament, so you will see that some parts are stringy, but this is no problem because later I will sand every letter. For this project I am using the Ender 3 S1 Plus 3D printer. And this is the finished part. On the top there is a back side of the sign. There I started with 3D printing the first letter, the letter R. And this is how it looks like. This 3D printer has the build area of 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters, which was more than enough for this project. And I am printing all the parts on the glass panel, which gives the 3D prints nice and smooth finish. And this is the letter T. Every letter has on the top side of the letter empty space to pour in epoxy. Each letter also has the holes for the screws, with which the letter will be later attached on the aluminum panel. And this is the finished letter M. There I am printing the letter O, which turned out very nice. I am printing with the 0.6 mm nozzle, and every part has 50% infill. Each letter took about 2 to 3 hours of printing time. This logotype will be for the outside use, so this is the reason why I am using TPU filament and why I made every part with the 50% infill. Later I will also apply a protective layer of epoxy to each letter for a longer lifespan of the logo and greater resistance of the letters to the weather. And now I am printing the last letter. And this is how it looks like. So let's start with the next step. In this step I drilled out the holes to make sure there will be enough space for the screws that I will put in later. I also cut out the supports and then I sand every letter for the nice and smooth finish. So, there are all the letters on the table. I went to the company nearby and they cut me out this nice 95 by 20 centimeters and 2 mm thick aluminum sheet. Then I place the letters on the aluminum sheet in the right proportions. I make sure that everything is lined up perfectly. Then I used this life hack that I figured out. I took a nail and placed a little bit of hot glue on the top. Then I painted the top of the nail with the alcohol marker and I drew dots in the holes of individual letters. And this is the result. Now I exactly know where I need to drill the holes. I took the hammer and nail and marked every point for easier drilling. Then I drilled those 3 mm holes for the screws for every letter. And the time has come for the satisfying part to peel off the foil. Then I sand down the bottom side of the aluminum sheet, because there were imperfections because of drilling. The next step is to satinize the front side of the aluminum sheet, which gives the aluminum really nice and appealing look. The aluminum sheet is ready, so let's start with the placing letters. Then I insert the screws into the holes. The screws will be later poured over with epoxy. I also glued down the screws with the instant glue. And this is how the back side looks. And the front side. Then I secured the screws with the 2-component epoxy glue to prevent possible leakings for the epoxy top coating. Let's start with the mixing epoxy, with the mixing ratio of 2:1. I'm using injection for the easier dosing of each component. There I insert some blue and white pigment into the mixed epoxy to achieve exactly the same color as in the original look of the logo. And this is the most satisfying part of the logo production, to pour in the epoxy into the letters and watch it how it spills. It is important to fill up the letter all to the top, and when I was done, I used the torch lighter to pop up all the bubbles which were created on the top layer. When the epoxy hardened, I used the white insulation tape to recreate exactly the same appearance as on the original look of the logo. And this took me a lot more time than I expected. Then I mixed some bright grey epoxy for the top coating of the letters. I use injection for the easier dosing. And the satisfying part again. There I was very careful because the gap in the letters was very small. The precision is there very important, because if you spill up the epoxy, then you create big mess, which is hard to fix. Then I use the torch lighter again to pop up the bubbles. And this is the end result. I am very satisfied with the look of the logo and very happy how it turned out. The customer was also amazed with the end result. I am very glad I could walk you through the creation of this 3D logo. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and give some thumbs up. Please tell me in the comments what do you want to see next. See you in the next video.